Let me tell you something. Success doesn't start when you sign the deal, when you make the money, when the world claps for you. Success starts before the sun comes up. It starts in the quiet. In those early hours when it's just you, your thoughts, and your discipline. I want to give you 6 morning rules, 6 ways to retrain your mind, rewire your habits, and redirect your future. Because your brain, it's like a muscle. It responds to how you treat it. You give it order, it gives you focus. You give it chaos, it gives you confusion. So let's go there. Let's talk about it. Every morning gives you a choice, a simple one, but a powerful one. When that alarm goes off, when your eyes crack open and that first thought hits, that's your moment of truth. That's your first battle. And listen, it's not about the alarm clock. It's not about the time on the screen. It's about what that moment represents. It's you versus you. Comfort versus commitment. The soft pillow whispering, just 5 more minutes. And that inner voice saying, get up, you've got work to do. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. The bed feels good. The room is quiet. The world hasn't started moving yet. But that's exactly why that moment is sacred. Because it's the first decision that sets the tone for every other decision you'll make. Scientists call it activation energy, that little spark that pushes you from stillness into motion. Once you move, once you stand, once you decide, everything else starts to follow. But if you stay down, if you hit that snooze button, you send a message to your brain that hesitation is okay. That comfort wins. And when you do that, over time, it builds a habit. You think you're just getting a few extra minutes of sleep, but what you're really doing is teaching your mind that it's okay to delay your purpose. Think about that. Every time you hit snooze, you're practicing quitting softly, quietly, before the world even sees it. But when you rise, when you swing those feet over the edge of the bed and stand tall, you're training yourself to act even when it's uncomfortable. That's how you build discipline. That's how you build power. I remember talking to a young man once who told me he couldn't stick to a morning routine. He said, man, I'm just not a morning person. I told him, you're not a morning person because you keep telling yourself that story. You've got to change the story before you can change the habit. You can't have a strong day with a weak start. You can't build a legacy if you can't win the first 5 minutes of your morning. So what's the secret? It's not motivation. Motivation fades. It's not about being excited every day. You won't be. It's about intention. Getting up on purpose for a purpose. Maybe it's for your family. Maybe it's for your dream. Maybe it's because you made a promise to yourself that you're not going to live the same way you did yesterday. And let me tell you, the moment you get up, even when you don't feel like it, something inside you shifts. That's not just a morning victory. That's momentum. You stack enough of those small wins, and before long, you start believing in yourself on a different level. That first battle, that first rise becomes a statement, I am in control. I decide how this day begins. So tomorrow morning, when that alarm goes off, don't just wake up. Get up, stand up with intention. Because the way you start your day determines how you finish it. And if you can win the first battle, you can win them all. You know what most people do the moment they open their eyes? They reach for their phone. Before their feet even touch the ground, they've already let the world in. Emails, headlines, messages, noise. It's chaos before sunrise. And they wonder why their mind feels cluttered, why the day feels heavy before it even begins. It's because they've given away their focus before they've even claimed it. The world doesn't wait. It demands your attention. It pulls at your peace. But you've got to protect your peace before you do anything else. See, your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant first thing in the morning, that's what grows. You plant distraction, and you spend the rest of the day chasing your own thoughts. You plant gratitude, focus, peace, and you carry that energy with you everywhere you go. The question is, what seeds are you planting when the sun comes up? Because the first few minutes after you wake, that's sacred ground. That's when your subconscious is open, when your spirit is listening. Feed it something powerful. Maybe it's reading one page of a book that challenges how you think. Maybe it's listening to a message that lifts your spirit. Maybe it's prayer. Maybe it's silence. It doesn't matter how you do it. What matters is that you do it with intention. You've got to feed your mind before you feed your body. The world will feed you stress, fear, and doubt all day long. But in those early hours, you have the power to choose what enters your spirit. I knew a man once, a CEO running a company worth billions. Every morning, he starts his day the same way, 10 minutes of silence. No phone, no news, no noise, just gratitude. He told me that those 10 minutes are what give him clarity before he walks into the chaos. That's where his strength comes from. Not from the money, not from the title, but from the peace he protects at the start of every day. And I've seen that in so many successful people. The ones who last, the ones who lead. They don't start their day reacting. They start creating. They don't scroll. They reflect. Now, you don't have to be a CEO to do that. You can be a student, a parent, an artist, a dreamer. You just have to be someone who values your mind enough to feed it first, because your thoughts are like fuel. You can't expect to run strong on an empty tank filled with negativity. You've got to fill it with truth, with vision, with belief. So tomorrow morning, before you grab that phone, stop and breathe. Say, thank you for the day. Let your first thought be peace, not panic. Take that moment to remind yourself who you are and what you're building. Because when you start your morning feeding your mind, the rest of the world can't shake your foundation. You'll walk through the day with purpose, calm, focused, and unshakable. You don't need fancy equipment, expensive memberships, or a trainer shouting in your ear to get moving. You just need your body and the decision to use it. Every morning, before the noise starts, before the world starts demanding your attention, you've got to take a moment to move. Because when your body moves, your mind wakes up. You tell yourself, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm ready. That movement isn't just about fitness, it's a message that says, I'm in control today. The science backs it up. When you move, your blood flows stronger, your heart pumps faster, oxygen hits your brain, and something changes inside you. You start to think clearer, breathe deeper, stand taller. That's not motivation, that's biology. The body is designed to move, and when you honor that design, you start unlocking energy you didn't even know you had. You stop dragging yourself through the day and start driving yourself through it. You ever notice how on the mornings when you move, even just a few minutes, the whole day feels different? You walk a little lighter, think a little faster, smile a little easier. That's not coincidence, that's chemistry. Your body rewards action with focus. 10 minutes, that's all it takes. 10 minutes of stretching, a brisk walk around the block, a few push-ups by your bed. That's enough to shift your entire state. It's not about how long or how hard. It's about showing up for yourself. Because when you show up physically, the mental follows. I once met a man who told me he didn't have time to exercise, said he was too busy, too tired, too overwhelmed. I asked him, how do you expect to lead your team, your family, your life, if you can't even lead your own body? That hit him, because the truth is, movement is leadership. When you take control of your body, you're taking control of your mind. You're proving to yourself that you can command action even when comfort is calling. You see, discipline isn't built in your head first. It's built in your muscles. It's built in the small moments when you choose to move instead of staying still, when you choose strength over stillness, when you choose progress over perfection. Every push-up, every stretch, every step. It's not about fitness, it's about focus. It's a daily reminder that you're capable of more than you feel. So don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for motivation to show up. Move first, because movement creates momentum. The hardest part of the day is getting started, but once you move, the rest follows. Your body wakes up, your brain switches on, your energy rises. That's how you take charge of the day before the day takes charge of you. You don't need a gym to get stronger. You need commitment. You don't need perfection, you need motion. Because when you move your body, you wake your brain, you build your discipline, and you remind yourself that you are powerful, alive, and ready to conquer whatever's ahead. Every morning when you wake up, before you check your phone, before you rush into the noise of the world, you open your mouth, and what comes out of it shapes your entire day. Words are not just sounds, they're seeds. They plant thoughts, they grow emotions, and they build reality. You've got to understand something. The words you speak have the power to lift you up or lock you down. And too many people start their day cursing it without even realizing it. They roll over, groan, and say, so tired. I can't do this today. This day is going to be rough. And guess what? The day listens. The mind listens. The body follows. You're telling yourself how to feel before the world even gives you a reason. I once read about a Navy SEAL who said, the body follows the mind, but the mind follows your words. Think about that. Your body does what your brain tells it, and your brain takes instruction from the words you speak. You're giving yourself commands every time you open your mouth. So, if you speak defeat, don't be surprised when you feel defeated. But when you speak strength, when you declare focus, when you claim victory before the battle even begins, something inside you shifts. It's not magic, it's mindset. You're giving your spirit direction. Words are powerful, but not just the ones you say out loud. The ones you whisper to yourself, the ones you repeat in your head when no one's around. You've got to stop talking yourself out of greatness. Stop calling yourself lazy, unlucky, unworthy. Start speaking life. Say, today I'm focused. Today I'm ready. Today I'm blessed. You may not feel it yet, but speak it anyway. You're not lying to yourself. You're leading yourself. That's how leaders operate. They talk in the language of vision, not limitation. I remember a young athlete who told me he was struggling with confidence. He said every morning before his games, he'd tell himself not to mess up, not to fail, not to look foolish. And every time, that's exactly what happened. I told him, you're programming your mind for failure before the game even starts. I asked him to change his words. Instead of saying what he feared, I told him to declare what he wanted. He started saying, I'm prepared. I'm strong. I'm ready. Within weeks, his performance changed, not because his skill improved overnight, but because his belief did. That's the lesson. Your mouth is your steering wheel. It directs where your day is going. If you want to change the direction of your life, start with the direction of your words. Look in the mirror and tell yourself the truth, not where you are, but where you're going. I'm not there yet, but I'm on my way. That's not arrogance, that's affirmation. That's the sound of faith in motion. Speak life into your day, and your day will rise to meet your words. Every morning when you wake up, you've got to decide what winning looks like for you that day. Not for next week, not for next month. Today. Because success doesn't happen in giant leaps. It happens in focused, intentional steps. Success loves clarity. Too many people wake up just hoping to be productive. Hoping something good will happen, hoping the day somehow adds up to progress. But hope without direction is chaos. You can't just drift your way to greatness. You've got to define it. You've got to give your energy a target. That's why I tell people, set 3 wins for the day. Not 10, not 20, not a list that overwhelms you before breakfast. Just 3. 3 small, meaningful victories that matter to you. Maybe it's finishing that project you've been dragging your feet on. Maybe it's finally making that phone call you've been avoiding. Maybe it's spending an hour with your family without distractions. No phone, no interruptions, just presence. The number doesn't matter as much as the intention behind it. Those 3 wins give your day structure. They give your mind direction. When you wake up knowing what matters most, your focus sharpens, your decisions align, and your energy stops leaking into everything that doesn't serve your purpose. You see, people fail not because they don't have ambition, but because they try to do too much all at once. They scatter their strength, and then they wonder why they're exhausted and unfulfilled. But when you narrow your focus, when you decide what truly counts, that's when the magic happens. Because focus beats frenzy every single time. If you chase too many things, you catch nothing. But if you lock in on 3 meaningful goals, you'll start stacking wins, and those wins build momentum. Think about it, 3 wins a day becomes 20, 1 a week, 80 for a month, nearly 1,000 a year. That's not luck, that's consistency. That's progress you can measure, track, and feel. And every small win tells your brain we're moving forward. It builds confidence, it builds belief, it builds rhythm. And rhythm, that's the heartbeat of success. I once met a man who was drowning in his own to-do list. He told me he worked from sunrise to midnight and still felt like he was getting nowhere. I asked him to write down just 3 things each morning, the most important things, and ignore the rest until those were done. A few months later, he told me his life had changed. He wasn't busier. He was clearer. That's what this is about. Not doing more, but doing what matters most. Every day gives you 24 hours, but not every hour deserves your attention. When you wake up and set your 3 wins, you're saying, this is what I'm building today. This is where my energy goes. That's how you turn motion into meaning and meaning into momentum. Because success isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things consistently until those small victories become the foundation of something extraordinary. Before you walk out that door in the morning, before you face the noise, the challenges, the expectations, you've got to pause and ask yourself one question: who am I becoming? Not what am I doing, not what am I earning, not what am I achieving, but who am I becoming through all of this? Because at the end of the day, all the titles, all the money, all the recognition, they fade. But the person you're shaping in the process, that's what lasts. That's what people will remember when the applause stops and the lights go out. Every morning, you get a chance to align your actions with your purpose. You get a chance to make sure that who you're trying to be matches what you're actually doing. It's so easy to get caught up chasing the next goal, the next milestone, the next big thing, that we forget the most important work. The work within. Success without substance is empty. You can win on paper and still lose in spirit if you forget why you started. I remember meeting a man who had everything the world calls success. Big house, big car, big title. But when he talked, you could feel he was hollow inside. He told me he'd spent years climbing a ladder, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. He had been so focused on doing that he forgot about becoming. That's a painful lesson. To reach the top and find out you left yourself behind on the way up. Don't let that be your story. You see, every morning is a new opportunity to build the person you're meant to be. You're not just training your skills, you're shaping your spirit. Every decision, every challenge, every victory, every failure, they're all sculpting you. They're refining your patience, your humility, your resilience. That's the real success. When your outer growth matches your inner growth. When your character is strong enough to carry your dreams. Because here's the truth, you're not just preparing for success, you're preparing to deserve it. Anybody can want success, anybody can chase it, but not everyone can handle it. Real success requires integrity, consistency, humility, the things that can't be bought, can't be faked, can't be borrowed. That's why who you're becoming matters more than what you're achieving. So every morning, take a moment to check your direction. Ask yourself, am I growing into the kind of person my future needs me to be? If the answer is yes, keep walking. If the answer is no, adjust. That pause, that reflection, it's what keeps you aligned when the world tries to pull you off course. The world will measure your success by what you have, but life will measure it by who you are. So before you chase the dream, make sure you're building the character to sustain it. Because when you remember who you're becoming, you don't just create success, you create legacy. I know what you're thinking. It sounds simple, doesn't it? Wake up early, focus, move with purpose, speak life. But simple doesn't mean easy. The hardest things in life are often the simplest ones because they demand consistency. They require you to show up when no one's watching, when the excitement fades, when the results haven't come yet. You see, the brain doesn't change just because you wish it would. It doesn't transform through motivation alone. It changes because you train it, day after day, habit by habit, decision by decision. Every morning, when you rise early and choose discipline over comfort, focus over distraction, purpose over panic, you're doing something powerful. You're not just starting your day, you're shaping your mind. You're sending a signal to your brain that says, we're in charge here. That's how greatness is built, not in grand gestures, but in quiet consistency. Not overnight, but over time. I remember hearing a story about a young man who wanted to become a professional musician. He practiced every morning before the world woke up. For years, no one noticed. His friends slept, his family doubted. But he kept training, not just his hands, his discipline. And one day, that same discipline carried him onto the biggest stages in the world. Not because of luck, but because he trained his mind to follow through long before the applause came. That's what rewiring looks like, doing the work when there's no reward yet. The truth is, every morning gives you a chance to win or to waste. It's a reset button. You can choose to start strong, or you can choose to surrender before the day even begins. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary isn't talent, it's training. When you train your brain to rise with intention, you stop reacting to life and start directing it. You stop living on autopilot and start steering your destiny. And I'll be honest, there will be mornings you don't feel like it. Mornings when the alarm feels heavier than a mountain. Mornings when your mind tells you to stay comfortable. But that's the moment that matters most. Because every time you push through, every time you rise anyway, you strengthen the muscle of discipline. And that muscle will carry you further than motivation ever could. So tomorrow morning, don't just wake up, rise with purpose, rise with gratitude, rise with the mindset that you are building something powerful, something lasting, something true. Because your future, that dream, that goal, that version of you that you've been chasing, it's waiting on the other side of your morning. All you have to do is rise to meet it. So pause. The speaker's voice drops to a whisper. The day doesn't make you. You make the day, so get up and make it count.